In a quiet corner of a vast forest, a young sapling struggled to grow. Surrounded by towering trees, it felt small and insignificant. The sapling had been planted in rocky soil, where the roots could barely reach deep enough to find the nourishment needed to thrive. There was no soft, fertile ground to ease its growth, only sharp stones and dry earth. Every time it tried to stretch its tiny leaves toward the sunlight, the wind would blow fiercely, forcing it to bend and fold. The young tree felt weak, as though it would never become anything more than a small, frail plant. The sapling often looked up at the mighty oak trees nearby. Their thick trunks stood tall and strong, their branches reaching high into the sky. They seemed invincible. The sapling wondered, how can I ever grow like them? What if I am just too small, too weak, to survive in this harsh environment? These thoughts filled its mind as it faced the daily struggles of life. The rains were few and far between, and when they did come, the storm would often tear at the sapling's fragile leaves. It felt as though the earth was against it, as if it didn't deserve the sunlight or the space to grow. The sapling's internal conflict grew over time. It began to doubt its ability to succeed. Each gust of wind felt like a reminder that it was not strong enough to endure. It questioned its purpose and whether it had been planted in the wrong place. Why had it been born into such difficult conditions? All around it, the older, stronger trees had roots that dug deep into the earth, drawing up nutrients from the soil. But the sapling's roots were still too young and too weak. Its leaves would curl up in the heat of the day, and it felt defeated. Despite its struggles, the sapling kept trying. It pushed its roots deeper into the ground, even though the soil was tough and unyielding. But with each failure, the sapling's self-doubt grew stronger. Maybe I'm not meant to grow. Maybe I'll always be just this little thing. This thought constantly ran through its mind. The storms and winds came and went, but the sapling's growth was still stunted. The sapling's doubts were not easily silenced, but something deep inside urged it to keep going. One day, as the wind blew gently through the forest, the young tree noticed the old oak tree standing tall, its leaves rustling with wisdom. It was as if the oak tree had been watching over the sapling all along, waiting for the right moment to speak. With a quiet strength, the oak's deep voice reached the sapling, carried on the breeze. You are not weak, young one. You are simply learning to grow, the oak tree whispered. The storms you face, the struggles you endure, they are not to defeat you, but to shape you. Growth is not without challenge. The sapling, unsure but intrigued, listened carefully. But how? How can I grow when everything seems to work against me? The sapling asked. I am small, and the world feels too harsh. Every time I try to grow, something pulls me back. The oak tree smiled in the wind, its branches swaying. It is through the very challenges you face that you will grow the strongest. The storms you fear, the droughts you dread, they are your teachers. They push your roots deeper, making you stronger. They test your resolve, teaching you how to bend without breaking. The oak tree paused, letting the words settle in the sapling's heart. The young tree felt a spark of hope. For the first time, it realized that the obstacles it faced were not signs of failure, but opportunities to build resilience. But how do I face them without breaking? The sapling asked. What if I don't have the strength to endure? The oak's voice grew more powerful, a reminder of the long years it had stood through countless storms. True strength does not come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from facing it, standing tall even when the winds are fierce. Your roots will grow deep if you face the storms head-on. Every challenge is a step toward your growth. Trust in yourself, and trust in the process. The sapling felt a new sense of clarity. It wasn't about trying to escape the storms or wishing for perfect conditions. It was about learning to embrace the storms, to face them with courage. With the oak's words echoing in its mind, the sapling decided to change its approach. Instead of resisting the winds, it would stand firm. Instead of fearing the droughts, it would reach deeper into the earth, searching for the nutrients it needed. Days passed, and the sapling grew stronger. The storm still came, but now, the young tree bent with the winds instead of breaking. Its roots dug deeper into the rocky soil, anchoring it firmly. Slowly, the sapling began to notice a difference. It wasn't growing fast, but it was growing with purpose. The leaves, once fragile, were now more resilient. The bark, once soft, was beginning to thicken. The sapling had learned that growth was not a straight path, it was a journey that required patience, persistence, and strength through adversity. As seasons changed, the sapling grew taller and stronger. It could now stand proudly in the forest, its branches reaching toward the sky. The storms no longer felt as frightening. Instead of shaking in fear, the sapling stood tall, knowing it could weather any challenge. It had learned the oak tree's secret: the power to grow beyond one's limits lies not in avoiding adversity, but in embracing it, learning from it, and using it to become stronger. In the end, the sapling transformed into a mighty oak, its roots deep in the earth, its branches strong and unwavering. It had become everything it once thought it could never be. And as it stood tall in the forest, it realized that the greatest lesson of all was this: growth is not just about what you can see on the surface, it is about what you build beneath, in the depths of your own resilience and strength. Every struggle, every challenge, was not the end of its journey, but the beginning of a new, stronger chapter. And now, as it stood proudly among the giants of the forest, the sapling understood: it had grown beyond its limits, and it was capable of anything.